Okay, look. I do not want to review this movie. Even from the millions of people who say that they love this film and it's amazing and spectacular and it's really grand, I can't explain why. And I know my words are not going to change it. But, seeing as how reviews are subjective and there's no right or wrong answers, I have to give my thoughts out even if no one cares. So, welcome to another movie review. Yeah, let's get this over with.
2 weeks ago, I did a review of Rankin Bass's The Flight of Dragons, which I like, and you can look into it for more. But that's a pretty underrated film, and I decided to look over another movie about dragons. And coming from the directors of Lilo and Stitch, what could go wrong?
Well, I can tell you this. I'm getting my refund. What did you say? That's right. I'm getting a refund. But everyone loves this film, even me. Well, maybe you should explain why, because I have my issues with it. For this is the quickly acclaimed and box office hit of the decade, which is a big stretch, How to Train Your Dragon.
The movie is based on the book of the same name by Cressida Cowell.
And that's about it.
A Viking boy named Hiccup,
which, by the way, who names their kid Hiccup? And why is something so common?
wants to be a dragon fighter, but his clumsiness and cowardliness gets in the way of the other Vikings protecting their village from dragons, and thus he is mocked for shooting down a dragon known as Night Fury, which is what he really did. But he frees the dragon instead of killing it, and so Hiccup and the dragon, who he named Toothless, begin to share a bond with each other as Hiccup secretly fixes Toothless's tail and learns how to train the dragon, while also training to be a dragon fighter using his skills he did with Toothless, impressing everyone, almost everyone, including his father, Stoic the Vast, who is also the village's chief.
So, what's the problem? The story is fine. Well, it is, but not exactly.
While it is a simple story and one to follow well, it just came across as being pretty dull and, dare I say it, boring. I really couldn't get into it for 3 reasons. One is with the twist at the end of the second act. There is a giant dragon at the dragon's home that, as Astrid puts it, is like the bees, where the giant is the queen and the others are the drones. Well, okay, but a queen bee wouldn't eat her drones if the food provided is not enough. And since bees serve the queen in protecting her eggs and whatnot, all the dragons do here is give the queen their catch and are afraid of it. How does that even work? We don't know what this dragon is and what makes it intimidating to the others. And even then, some of the dragons tend to work for themselves and tend to come out of nowhere when they're not working for the queen. So this plot point doesn't have any reason to exist.
But it is a good reason. It makes sense. Yeah, but I don't think it's done well.
The second reason is at the very end of the film, where Hiccup loses his foot. And I know the makers are showing that both Hiccup and Toothless have the same outcome, in that Toothless loses one tail wing in the crash, but how did Hiccup lose his foot in the battle with the giant dragon? Was it burned? Was it broken? Did it get lopped off? And the fact that he's going to live with this just doesn't feel right.
And frankly, I don't know why. Okay then, what is the last reason about the story?
Well, the third reason is that the whole story is uninteresting. All it is a guy who wants to be successful in what he wants to be, but is very clumsy at what he does, despite being the son of a well-known man. But with the secret help of an unexpected creature, he manages to be something better than before, winning the respect of everyone, except the romantic lead, who believes is better than everyone, but will soon be the hero's girlfriend.
That's the same scenario as Ratatouille!
Did they really have to go so far as to recycle and simplify a plot to my least favorite Pixar film?
But the characters, they are pretty good. Really?
Even if the story fails in entertaining me, the characters do make up for it. They keep the show going and have interesting personalities that make them charming and enjoyable. Here, there is not a single character I like. None. At all. They're all uninteresting and have nothing unique to them. At first I thought the kids were the worst part of the film, mostly for not liking Hiccup and mocking him constantly. But then going over it again, it's not as bad or long as I thought. Yet they still don't work for me. Stoic, while pretty much being the King Triton of the film, is just like him, except minus the likability and power. Hiccup is a bore, and Gobbler would address lines that don't fit with the tone of some scenes. Like when the Vikings go up to the dragon's nest, they see a lost ship and get ready for battle, and yet he ruins those moments by saying something positive or funny, even when I'm trying to get into those scenes.
But there's gotta be something you like about this. Did you see it in 3D? No. Did you like any of the dragons?
Actually, I do. The dragons, surprisingly, are the only things I find decent in the film. Not really for their personalities, if any, just for their cool-looking designs and fine functions, and their behavior is similar to those of cats. They like to be petted, they like to eat fish, they're curious, they're addicted to quote-unquote catnip, and they stalk their prey silently and attack without warning. It's an interesting take that I never expected, and could rank up with how dragons work in other dragon movies.
But does that? No, it doesn't make up for the whole film.
And the actors voicing the characters? There's not much to them. Jay Barchell voices Hiccup, Gerard Butler voices Stoic the Vast, Craig Ferguson voices Gobber, America Fiera voices Astrid, Jonah Hill voices Snotlout, Christopher Mintz-Plasse voices Fishlegs, TJ Miller voices Toughnut, and Christian Wiig voices Roughnut. As a whole, this movie is not very engaging. The characters aren't interesting, the story is not enjoyable, and the animation is just alright. Directors Chris Saunders and Dean DeBlois have made a film that is DreamWorks' first dramatic film with not much comedy, but I think it shouldn't be from a studio that's primarily comedy. Apart from the designs of the dragons and their cat-like behavior, and one or two funny moments, everything else is just dull. I couldn't get behind any of the characters, I couldn't get into the story, I didn't see it in 3D, and it's a film that everyone loves, which is something that I never got. So send in the hate mail all you want, but for me, this is my least favorite DreamWorks film.
So today, this movie will begin a rating of 2 stars. Now, if you excuse me. Wait! Don't do it! What have you done? Well, can you think of anything else that might shock you? Well, I hate to say this, but, what do you think about the sequel? Well, with that film, my thoughts remain the same. Seriously? Would you get out of here? Man, why was he here? This will not work well. Bolt.
A dog named Bolt is the star of a TV show of the same name, and believes that he has superpowers, and everything that happens in the show named Metro Man. But soon he creates a new hero, so he can make a purpose in life, and will ultimately find his destiny for living. So what do I think about this movie?